Itofa, welcome to Gistan Trips.
Hey, thank you
Okay,
so much. Such a great pleasure.
yeah, good, good. So tell us something interesting happening to you now.
Well, I'm getting married in a couple of months.
Woo! That's why that's huge. That's huge. That's huge. So any other thing apart from
Yeah.
okay, apart from the personal, anything that has to do with the NGO and any other stuff that you think,
Yes.
all right?
Okay. Yeah. Just on a more serious note, so much has been happening over the last couple of months.
Yeah.
We're currently launching a new project called the Water for Life. That's really very close to our hearts at Church in the Street. We are also, I'm also going to start my master's in January by the grace of God.
Wow.
And I mean, you also know that I recently just dropped my book as well. So those are like a couple of things that have been happening, on the journey for me.
Let's talk about Church on the Streets. What's the idea behind that project? Tell us.
Yes. So when you look at the dynamics of life,
Uh,
right?
yeah.
And you know very well that what will it take to really change the world? What will it take to topple the world? What will it take to make the world a better place? We are looking at government, we are looking at wealthy people, we are
Yeah.
looking at people who have big houses and big cars. But the truth is,
Mm.
change starts from bottom up. It doesn't start from up down,
Yeah.
right? And so the whole idea behind Church on the Street is to drive a movement, drive an ideology that will cause young people to come together, rally around, and ask themselves questions. How can we solve the problem of hunger? How can we tackle malnutrition? How can we ensure that every child has access to education in Nigeria? And so we've been doing that for 3 years, going on 4 years next month by the grace of God, in June by the grace of God. And it's
Yeah.
just been an incredible journey to see how young people can come together from across the world who share the same vision and ideology that the world can be a better place if we come together. And so
Yeah.
that's what's been driving us, and that's the idea behind the mission.
Yeah. Very good. So how was this? How was the dream birthing? Any amazing story connected to this?
I say this a lot of the times. A lot of viewers who are going to be seeing this and who have heard me speak would have heard my story before. I was
Yeah.
not one of those child who was born into opulence. I'm not one of those child who was born into wealth.
Yeah.
As your parents save $100 billion for you somewhere, and you're going to come and change the world. I did not have that growing up. In fact, there was a time in my life as a family where, you know, my parents' finance was going through a very, very difficult time.
Yeah.
Things were not as the smoothest. It was really, really rough for us as a family. And I just asked myself, how long will this continue to go on? I was probably 13, 14 around this time. And I asked myself, how long will this continue to go on?
Mm.
And that would be a turning point for me, right? But by the time I got into the university in my first year, I realized I began to work in a consciousness where I realized that I was an answer to somebody's prayer. The fact that my
Wow.
parents were not rich, quote and unquote, didn't stop me from being a change maker, didn't stop me from making somebody's day, didn't stop me from making sure somebody had a meal or somebody had a very good day.
Yes.
So
Wow.
that's where my journey started from. But the whole entity or organization, Church on the Street,
Yeah. Wow.
started with a conversation I had with my friend. Her name is Yvonne, Mrs. Yvonne Ogogo. She's married now.
Wow.
It
Good.
started with a simple conversation at 12 a.m. Pharmacy building, University of Benin. We had a conversation about making the world a better place, and instantly it hit me, church on the street. And
Wow.
that was where our journey started from.
Good to hear that. Good to hear that. Was there a time you felt like giving up in the middle of you trying to create this brand while still when you're still building it?
Hmm.
Was there a time you felt like giving up?
Man, of course. Anybody who's building an entity or anybody who's building something really incredible, you would always have those moments and those experiences where you feel like quitting, stopping, giving up. I mean, I had those experiences. Now, mind you, I started when I was in 200 level at the University of Benin, 200 level student. Then I had 2 more years to go for my undergrad degree. I had tests, I had exams, and people were saying, "Oh, my mother has cancer, my father has prostrate. If people should help us. You claim you are church on the street, you are saying no to us." At that time, we had not defined what it is that we were as an organization. So every Tom, Dick, Johnson, Harry was coming to us,
Mm.
help us, help us, help us. And I was overwhelmed. I was depressed. I would go to the library to study and I could not read because there was so much. My mates were busy trying to backwards because I was busy trying to save the world. And I just told myself, you know what, I'm going to turn my back on this thing. My mates are doing all that things. Why should I be the one carrying the weight of those of the world on my shoulder.
Mm,
By the way, I was only just in 200,
yeah.
19 going on 20, you know. But thank God I did not quit. Thank God I didn't give up on that journey, you know, and we're here today.
So there are a lot of people who joined you in projecting this brand. Why do you think they stick
Yes,
around
absolutely.
you? Why do you think they stick around you and to see this dream just go big like that? Because you mentioned the other time that you
Hmm.
started local. Well, now it's global. It's global right now. And
Yes,
okay, you had a
yes, by the
time
grace.
whereby you're still putting input, so
Yes,
people were joining. What do you think they saw in you that made them stay?
yes. I'm going to share a profound quote that I heard from my great mentor, Dr. Miles Moreau. He said, "Vision gives your life energy. Vision will give your life energy." The truth is, because a vision is a living, breathing entity. Church on the Street started with an idea, a conceptualized idea in my head, and today it's an organization. The thing is, people have stayed with us for two major reasons. One, because of the grace of God, and
Yeah.
two, because of the drive that we have to change the world and make the world a better place. Everybody wants to be around the people who are consistently moving, who are consistently being driven by something, right? So the reason you have people want to be, I want to be part of the cause, I want to be part of the mission, I want to be part of, I want to join you guys to do this thing because deeply embedded inside everybody, you know very well in your spirit, in your heart that you were created to do something different. That's why you set up this whole show.
Of
You were created
course.
to make the world a better place. You were created to solve some type of problem. So when somebody finds that one person who will spark a candle, the whole church, the whole community, the whole school, we want to rally around that person to ensure that that ember keeps burning bright and doesn't burn out. And I would say that's why people want to be part of the mission. That's why people are giving to us. That's why people are volunteering. And that's why we will continue to be here by the grace of God.
Amen. Amen. Big event to that. So let's imagine I'm starting out as a new I'm starting up an NGO brand. What advice would you give to me
Yes.
though? What advice would you give to me?
Yes, so interestingly, that's what my book is really on. I wrote the book called The Secret
Ooh,
for Running a Successful Non-Profit, right?
yeah.
And on that book, I chronicled about 7 chapters on that book and basically just walk you through the whole step-by-step journey. And one of the first chapters I'm going to talk about is you need to start with why. If you don't start with why, you would experience burnout and you will quit before you know it, right? Running a non-profit or running a charity organization will take a huge toll on you. It will take a heavy toll on you that if your why is not crystallized, if the whole embodiment and make up the layer of why you're doing what it is you've been called to do, you will get burnout. So whether you want to feed hungry children, you want to build an orphanage home, you want to help rape victims, you want to have a mobile library to help children in Ajegule, in Agege, in the slums, you want to set up a dancing club for young people, you need to sit down, get a pen and a paper and ask yourself, why am I really doing this? Until you have come up with a tangible answer to that question, you're not ready to start because the day the rock will hit the ceiling or the ceiling will hit the fan, you're going to carry your bags and your tables and say, I'm not doing again. So I tell non-profit founders, young non-profit founders, startups, or people who already exist in 10 years and it feels like they're quitting. I say to them, why did you start out? Why did you start out? So when you start out with a why, when you get burnt out, you have an internal intrinsic fuel that will drive you and keep you on the course 10 years, 15, 20, 30 years on the journey.
Oh, good. Thank you very much. You've automatically communicated to me that if I get your book, I'm going to get more. I'm going to get more information from your book, and
Of course.
that leads me to asking you this specific question. Okay, so what chapter would you say you liked the most when you're putting out of your book? I'm talking from your book now. What chapter do you think you liked the most?
Yes,
Yeah, tell us.
yes. Chapter one, start with why. It's one of my favorite
Oh,
chapters. And
good.
I think, when you read chapter one, you would understand
Yeah.
the heart of Church on the Street. You understand why I started, where we started from, and why we're still here today. You see, people underestimate the power of why.
Yeah.
I would ask you now, why did you set up this whole why did you create this sanctuary? Why are we even having this interview? By the time we peel off the layers, you realize that deep down on the inside of you, you're trying to answer one question. You want to etch your mark on the sands of time. Oh,
Oh,
yes, you may get popular, you may get famous, people may want your autograph, but deep down on your inside, you want to make a difference.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
want to make a difference. You want somebody to listen to this and go back and be like, man, this guy can do it. I can do it too. So I will tell you, start with one of my favorite chapters, and everybody who gets on that book, you will not want to drop it. So that's
Yeah, good, good. So it's available on Amazon, it's available on Kindle and sellers, right? Good,
yes,
good, good.
absolutely, it is. It is.
All right, good. Now you've spoken to us about your book. Anything you want to say at the end of all?
Yes, awesome. Steve Jobs, I mean, bless his soul, is an incredible man that I have followed, I have studied, I have read, and he said something. Um, he said, a message for the misfits, for the round pegs in a square hole, those who dare and who think that they can change the world are the ones who really do. He said another profound, I just paraphrase, he said another
Yeah,
profound thing. He said that I
good.
want to leave a dent in the universe. For every single person who's going to be watching this episode, the one thing I want to ask you is, how do you want to be remembered? What do you want to leave behind when you're no longer on this earth? What would be said about you that you walk the face of the earth and children were fed? You walk the face of the earth, you inspired a generation, you walk the face of the earth because of you.
Mm,
There was political reform, things got better.
yeah,
Billy Graham said that leave the world better than you first met it. So if you're listening to me right now, what I'm going leave you with today is what will be better because you walk the face of the earth? Let that be a question, a pertinent question in your heart every day, every time you step out.
thank you very much. Thank you for joining us on today's show. Ladies and gents, Secrets
Professor.
for Building Successful Nonprofit is now available on Amazon, on Kindle, and Sellers. Thank you very much. Thank you so much, Mr. Itofa.